What's the problem here? Okay, I don't know why that's doing that. Testing, testing. Okay, now it's working. I guess. Hold on, I think the problem is this. Testing, testing. Might be because the mic is further away or something. I don't know. So, hello. Oh, wait, I gotta fix the window. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Hello. It's your boy. I have a tragic announcement to make for the few people that might be watching immediately. Um, when I was playing the Ratchet and Clank game, I hooked up my original PS2 to a capture card and a whole bunch of complex setup stuff. Um, anyway, the problem with it is that I ended up having a lot of latency, as you may know if you watch the stream, or you might find out if you see the shorts that are coming soon on YouTube. Anyway, so that was working fine enough, and my plan to alleviate the latency issue was to hook up this old TV that I got. Well, ran into some problems there. For some reason, the capture card and the splitter for the HDMI, something went wrong. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but now it's not. I can't get any audio or video coming out of the PS2. As far as I know, the PS2 works fine, which is what really, really bugs me. But anyway, so right now my options are mess around, mess around with an emulator that I don't want to use in the first place, or get a new TV because the one that I have is old and broken. Like, my biggest frustration came from working with the TV because every time I press any button on the side, it's like one of those old school ones where there's actually buttons on the side. And if I press the volume button, it turns off. There's something wrong with like the little button mechanism there where it'll, like, there's a 20% chance it's going to interpret a button press as turn the whole thing off. And it is infuriating. But it's what we're dealing with. So I was like, I've dealt with it before, but the problem is having to diagnose or troubleshoot a problem with the AV cables and the HDMI conversion and the splitter into the capture card and into the TV. See, the issue is, even though, as far as I know, the splitter and HDMI cords have worked fine up until this point, they just weren't even they weren't registering with the computer. I couldn't even get the TV to work enough for me to diagnose it with that situation. But for some reason, the same exact setup I was using to play Ratchet and Clank on the original console, it just is not working today. And that is very frustrating, as you might imagine. So anyway, we're probably not going to continue with that playthrough unless I can magically get a whole bunch of money to throw away at a new TV, and it's just a nightmare. My best bet is to actually just emulate, but I didn't want to emulate. I like original console stuff. That was what I always wanted to do for my stream, is have original content and original consoles. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's just how I'm trying to roll here at Pendragon TV HQ, NBC, Incorporated. That's just what that was the vision. It still is the vision, but right now the vision is broken. So that's that announcement. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to continue with the Ratchet and Clank playthrough. I don't know. It really seems as if anytime I try to do this original console shit, it's just cursed. I'm not going to give up on it because that, like I said, that's the dream, that's the vision. If it takes me having to work and do sketchy shit all the way up to like 50,000 subs or something like that, to where I actually have enough money to just throw away at something like that, then that's what we'll do. But un- until I run out of options completely, I will continue to try to make that work. So do not be dismayed. Eventually, we're going to get there and try that again. But if I do continue with the Ratchet and Clank thing, it's gonna have to be an emulator, which sucks because again, if you were there for the Nightmare Turok attempt playthrough, which I also tried on the original console, but it turns out my disc for Turok is just broken. Yeah, that's what happens when you buy rental video games and try to use them 10 years later. Actually, like 15 or 20 years later at this point, maybe. They're full of scratches and you know the PS2 itself, the lens. I'm praying that the lens stays good indefinitely because that's actually an issue that I have with one of them is that it wouldn't read anything. Um, and that was also a problem with my one of my GameCubes. I had two GameCubes originally, and the lens just went bad on one of them, and there was just nothing I could do. Also, I just scratched a bump on my nose and it's bleeding. So let me go fix that, and I'll be right back. But we're doing art today. We're doing art, maybe some animations. We're gonna update the avatar for Halloween, which will be fun. But other than that, I don't know. We might play some more Dark Souls since that's about the only damn game I can get to work without a hitch. But yeah, I'll be right back. Uh, but yeah, my real issue is I don't actually like working on art on stream because I feel like to me anyway it seems like that's a futile endeavor. It makes sense if you really think about it. Like, let's say the Dark Souls, for example, since that's the one Let's Play I've actually been able to do on stream. Um, Everybody knows Dark Souls. It's tagged on, YouTube and Google and everything. This is something that people actively will look up on the internet. And, well, it's kind of a lot, it's significantly more difficult, I should say, to actually make something like that work if you don't have something searchable. Like for example, for this stream to be a good example, what do I tag this as? Original artwork stream, art stream. It's hard to look for, you know. But beyond that, it's also kind of got poor retention. Most people, when they look for a stream, they're not doing it so that they can watch something continuously, slowly progress over the course of like 3 hours. They usually want to watch a game that they like and watch somebody play it, or I don't know. That's the impression I get anyway. I shouldn't say like I know everything about streaming because I certainly don't, or we'd be over this by now, right? But that's kind of the vibe is that like it's a lot easier to get a view for doing something that is already done than for something that you don't normally that nobody knows to look for really. And that's just been a conflict, let's say, in the situation. But anyway, so but that's why I don't normally do the art streams as much as like, because like yeah, I could sit here for 3 hours and draw a picture, but if I'm sitting here for 3 hours and I get 0 views, then it's kind of like, well, what was the point of that, you know? But in Dark Souls, at least A, I'm enjoying the game when I do it, and B, other people enjoy actually watching that. There's incentive there for them to actually tune in. I don't know. And maybe I'm just wrong about the whole thing, and it's just patience is key in all circumstances. Maybe. But aside from that, like I said, we're doing art today, and we might do some Dark Souls later. I'm really heavily thinking about buying Elden Ring in the DLC because I have never played the DLC. I've seen clips and screenshots. I know almost nothing about the story of the DLC. All I've done is play the original, the vanilla game. So that might actually be worth investing into. But problem is, your boy is kind of broke, and to get the same game that I already have on PS4 at full price, mind you, like bro, the game has been out for like 3 years and it's still $60 fucking. That's kind of crazy. But anyway, yeah. So I intend on doing that probably soon. I might even just wait till my next paycheck comes in because, well, that's a whole different thing. Anyway, let's let's just let's just do what we do. So this is the asset board or whatever for me for what you see before you. Uh, Mostly anyway. I actually had to like quick edit the blinking versions of this of this. Oh, you can't see the cursor. Okay. Anyway, yeah. This and this, you got to add like a blinking emote to both of them, like variations. Anyway, but today we're doing something special. We're gonna. I sort of intended to do it in real life, but then I was like, you know what? I could probably do this for Halloween on you know the on this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be a sad clown for Halloween. And like I said, I was gonna do that in real life. I probably still will. I don't know, but you know it might be a fun little special thing. So we're gonna create an alt costume here. The only issue there is that I have to like reprogram the entire avatar, like basically make a brand new one, and just load that in, which a little bit tiresome. Not gonna lie, but it's not too bad. I want to invest some time and effort into a new not a PNG tuber program, but a VTuber program. The only issue there is I'd have to come up with a Blender model for this character, which, well, to be honest, sounds like, you know, the worst thing ever, maybe. I feel like it sounds like the worst thing ever. But yeah, we're gonna be what is it called? Pierrot. Pierrot, the sad clown. Not like an actual clown. We're gonna, you know, like Pagliacci. That's kind of the idea. I might still add a funny red nose or something. I don't know. We'll see. Let's test that right now, actually. like it. But now I want a hat. A Pierrot hat. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I can't say I don't care, because I do care. But we'll just have to see. Ooh. Let's call that nose. Red nose. That way we can just do a separate layer. I've seen some Pierrots that have like the black hat on, but I think the white hat would just, it kind of conveys more of the idea that it's sort of a clown. Whereas I think if I put like a little black hat on my dragon, he would look like Jewish or something. Like, I'm not being orthodox for Halloween. That kind of feel like that sends the wrong message. Ooh, issue with that. Let's go ahead and save as. There we go. Give me an alt file so I'm not like fucking everything up. Okay. Ooh, yeah, we don't need that. Perhaps. I think maybe it might look better. Maybe I should do the black hat. I don't know. I kind of don't like that is the issue. Maybe it needs like an alt color. No, I don't like that. We're gonna have to do something else there. Oh, I know. Let's do multi-brush. And then, ooh, not that. Multi-brush and then snowflake. It's a lot of work just for a stupid little hat, but whatever. Maybe that's too many. Or maybe not enough. I'm not sure. Maybe that is too many. Yeah, that looks okay. Is that the only thing that has? How'd that happen? Oh, it's underneath that. Okay. Wait, what? Okay. Oh, okay, I see. Fuck it. Let's just get rid of let's get rid of this one. What's happening? Yeah. Let's get rid of this one and then we'll just reuse the asset instead of drawing it twice over. Hmm. I don't know. I think that should go with that. It's not over that, so that's tricky. That doesn't work. Okay, fuck it. Oh, that doesn't work either. Ah, I see the problem. Just need to get rid of that. But yeah, if you ask me, I just feel like there's very little to stare at for those young HD, I almost said HDMI, those young ADHD brains. They're like, but it's just art. What is he doing? This is dumb. I want to see Mario. You know. Don't worry, you'll see Mario. Hmm. And you know, originally, one of my other plans was that I develop. I work on music anyway, so like one of my plans was like, well, make a bunch of background music that vibes really good, and then have that be the thing that it kind of would retain the audience maybe, but I don't think music's that powerful for a stream, and it's actually kind of a pain, like to get all the audio levels and stuff figured out. Because like the worst thing I can do is try to like prep something like that, and then it ends up being that the audio level's off and it just ruins the whole stream without me being able to know. Like that sucks when that happens. Mm. I might just have to add that separate. Oh, I don't know. It might be fun. Might be a waste of time. I'm used to those though. Yeah, kind of used to those. But you know, it's annoying that I'm having these technical difficulties with the PlayStation because all the shit I had planned revolved around the PlayStation. On my bed right now is like 12 different games for the PS2. You know, lined up, ready to play, including Ratchet and Clank. Well, I mean, I guess I'd have to disinclude Turok because, like I said, it's damaged. But you get what I'm trying to say here is that like we had a plan, and it was all hinging upon the fantastical possibility that everything would work exactly the same the next couple days later. It didn't. So I don't know what to do now. Like I said, I might get Elden Ring. I don't know. Okay, let's see this. Okay, save as. Oh wait, no, save. All right. Now another thing that I actually wanted to do was maybe get a few new emotes going for like the normal me. Uh, so we can go back to that. Like, I'd like a costume where the dragon is sleeping. I think that would be a good AFK. Not sure though. Another idea that I always wanted to do was add like little smoke particles from the cigarette, you know. But who the hell knows how to do something like that? I really do think that I mentioned it earlier. I think that that's part of the reason I want to do like a VTuber program. The only issue there is, you know, just like with everything in a stream, that's one more dimension that things can go wrong in. But it also requires an extensive Blender model and the fucking rendering, or not rendering. I mean rigging. Like, oh god, rigging. I mean, rigging isn't too bad from what I've done already. Of course, I was just rigging basic models and stuff. The real trouble is that damn UV mesh mapping or whatever. I cannot figure out UV mapping at all. Like, and then adding an original texture to that and it working. It's like, I mean, I don't know. That shit is mystically impossible to me. Uh, I don't know. I think this is fine for now. I did save. I elongated the character neck a little bit because I'm noticing in the stream that sometimes I kind of like. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah, right here where my guy's sitting at the desk and doesn't have the tablet, you can kind of see a little bit of a see-through part where it's messed up. Same with the hand. Like you can probably see it kind of good there. There's a little bit of a bleed through where it's not colored in all the way. You know, it's perhaps this is a little meta for a stream, but these are the things I'm working on and looking at. I am aware of the flaws that may lay before you. Yeah. I don't know. What else is there to do? Because I actually don't want to work on this right now. I know we got game assets to do. Also, I got personal assets that I'd like to work on. Um, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna switch to A spread, I guess. I mean, you know, Creed is fun and all, but there ain't nothing really to do here. Not that really matters. At least I'll get paid for the A sprite ones when I'm done with them. Alrighty. So this is what we were working on last time. Little kobold guy. I think his name is Dad. I don't know why. But there's that. See, he's kind of bouncing up and down. Not offensive, really. But he's a NPC, which is boring. I see there's a little bit of a flaw in his leg, so we can look at that, I guess. Yeah, streaming art is a bit of a double-edged sword from my experience. Because A, you want to do something entertaining enough, on stream. And then B, if you don't stream, you don't work on the fucking art. I've noticed this many times where it's like, especially today, I was like, today and yesterday, I mean, I wanted to stream, but I was like, God damn, all I got to do is play Dark Souls or work on shit. And I know working on shit isn't going to do much. Dark Souls actually has some decent drawing, and for the only game I'm really able to play right now, that serves my interest really well. But art, A, it's stuff I don't want to do, really. B, it's boring. There's zero viewer in it, there's nothing for you, and I understand that. I don't watch art streams either, because they're boring, Unless you're here to listen to me bitch about my problems or something, there's just not a lot for you. It's not like a teaching course where I'm like showing like, hey, here's how you do this. I do that sometimes. So like if you want to know how to do basic animation or art techniques, sometimes I do drop those. So that might be a reason to stick around. But I get it, like that's all I'm trying to say is I definitely get the issue there. It's just not that watchable. And that's bad. We don't want unwatchable content, even if it's decent. But like right now, there's dead air because there's nothing to talk about except that there's nothing to talk about. I could tell you about my day, but who gives a shit, That's how I feel when a streamer starts telling me about their day. Not that I watch a lot of streamers, I'm just saying. Like, who gives a fuck? I'm not invested in your life, motherfucker. Draw the picture, But then you get bored because they're drawing the picture. And it's like, yeah. What can you do? I guess we can move this tail a bit. I don't like that. Don't like that. Eh. Oh, you can't even see that shit. It's another problem with A-Sprite. There you go. Sorry about that. How's the audio, by the way? Let me know. I think it should be fixed. Yeah, that's not good. But I feel like we're inching closer to the idea. Like sort of in the way that you would do with Blender. 2D animation, you kind of got to imagine the skeleton a little bit. And really, with everything in movement, you got to think about it sort of like if this is the center point, right, of the movement, because it's like the center of gravity. It's the main thing that's going to be moving is like his body when he commits to an action. Everything after that, it echoes outward, sort of. Like if you pull his arm back or something, let's say, oh, let me rotate. If he brings his arm up, which ignore the fact that it looks terrible right now, but if he does that, there's going to be a part of his torso that's going to stretch in that direction. Like all of this would turn a little bit, you know. I mean, just for a shitty example. And this is another thing when it comes to sprite work is that sometimes you just got to use what you got just for quick, you know, example. But you see, like that's a terrible animation in a sense, but you can see the motion there. Because that movement right there stretches everything out this way, even though like even though that might be the dominant or the primary thing that's moving, everything is going to react to that in a sense. And it's part of the job of the animator of a sprite to kind of just generalize where those movements are going to be. But you got to think about it sort of like a links on a chain. And all those links have their own keyframe in a sense. I don't know how that looks. My big ass head is in the way. It's choppy, but it could theoretically be okay. Like just that general motion. That being said, I don't like it. It's annoying. To be honest, I don't like that his staff kind of stays static the whole time. But I'm not really sure what to do with it without like completely overworking it. And you got to remember that this is a side character. He's only there to be a shop in the game. So you got to leverage like, well, how much work do we want to do to this, you know? I know I never fixed that leg issue like I was planning on. Let's do that. That looks terrible. I think less is more in this scenario. Mm. It's kind of like it's not even his legs that are bending. But I don't know. How does it look from far away? Because that's really the question. Yeah. I do think that's part of the problem. I might go ahead and buy Elden Ring after this. If you see me streaming Elden Ring, just know I spent $80, $90. That's my main hesitation. I don't know. Now the thing that's bothering me is this hand. Maybe what should happen here is the bag should move. Like the bag in his hand should move. If only slightly. Mm, I don't know. Headache. Actual headache. Is anybody watching this right now? Let me know if you're alive. No. Okay. In that case, I'm gonna take a break. I'll see you in a couple minutes. back. I'm back. Back, 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 back. Okay. Ducks in a row. Cigs smoked. Art boring. I don't know. I think part of the problem is I'm not interested in this work right now. Ugh. Excuse me. I'm drinking a fancy coffee. It's nice. I made it myself. There's like a coffee place in town that makes really good, blended ice coffees. Frappuccinos, I think they're called. And, well, they're like $9. So we got a blender and we got all the ingredients, and sometimes we just make them at home. But yeah, this thing's smug aura, it angers me. So I think I'm gonna open a different file. There's a few things that I actually want to do project-wise, but they would take a while. I definitely wouldn't get it finished today. But I got a few things in mind, a few sprite sheets and all that. Part of the issue is I don't know if I want to work in sprites, because sometimes they're a little particular. You gotta get all the pixel flow just right. I wanted to do something maybe, I don't know what you'd call it. It's not traditional. It's digital artwork, but not sprites. Like Hollow Knight and stuff, or like what you see before you, me. Like, just kind of pixelized, but really just line art and color. But I do like sprites. That's really where my expertise is, I would say, if you could call it expertise. Let's see. Yeah, we could do that. Let's see. We got this little guy. He's an important part of the story that I'm working on. Because that was always the thing, is that I've got this big-ass story I've been writing for like 5 years or more at this point. And I don't really know what to do with it. I want to make a game, but I also like comics, and I also like animations. Problem with animations is you need voice actors, and voice actors are not really required for certain games and, well, obviously comics. Which, by the way, I do have a comic. If you go to Newgrounds, look up Temple of the Master. That's like a little short story based on what I've been writing and stuff. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't really checked it out in a while. It's also hard for me to gauge because I worked on it so long. I'm just blind to the quality of it. But it got some good reviews. It was for a contest, and I didn't win, which sucked, I guess you could say. But I did get good reviews from it. People liked it, and I was happy that people liked it. I was sad I didn't win, because that would have been $500, and your boy needs a new pair of shoes. But anyway, so we're working on this guy. The issue with him, see, my plan is I want to, this is what all the stuff he can do right now. Oh wait, actually we're missing one. Is this it? No. Fuck. Where's the other one? I got like 3 different main files for this. Where is he? Is this one it? Whoops. Tried to drag that into OBS. That didn't work, did it? Okay, good. Last time I accidentally dragged a picture into OBS, and the shit like just covered the whole screen. Shit. Anyway, yeah, so it's kind of a jump and a dodge, which I like that or a crouch rather. a crouch and a dodge, and I like that the crouch kind of works as like a keyframe for the dodge. It's kind of nice. But yeah, the point is to be one of those like what do you call them? Magician or wizards with dark faces or whatever. Ooh, that needs like a cloth or something. Give me a second. I know. We'll use this microfiber that nobody cares about. Ah, man, I just remembered. Um, so this is a new PC, right? Well, 90% new. The case is actually the same case. But when I was working on it, I had to I had to get a new fan, a new cooler for the processor and stuff. And while I was installing it, I accidentally set the old fan and processor on my weighted blanket on my bed. So now there's just like two little square marks where the coolant has like embedded itself into the fabric. And I have no idea how to wash a weighted blanket. My dryer is kind of questionable. Like it already struggles to dry shoes, you know, or a lot of towels at one point. So I'm certain if I put a weighted blanket in there, it would just explode. And who knows what damage would be done to the blanket itself. It's like a $200 blanket, man. I don't want to ruin it, you know what I'm saying? But now there's these like non-removable stains that are just stuck there. I don't know. It sucked, but I don't even sleep in that bed right now. I'm actually living away from my main operation area these days. But anyway, I don't know. I digress. So anyway, my plan originally for this sprite when I started making it, which was about a week ago or so, is that I kind of want like a death battle video, like animation type thing. Like have this guy fight another guy and then them fight until one of them wins. It's probably gonna be this guy. But we might do that today. Like get started on the other guy. Let's see, that's 64. Let's do it. So this is the magician. He's a oh fuck. He's a pretty cool guy. He does magic and doesn't afraid of anything. And then the other guy. Let's see. The other guy is kind of like this imposing horse character. I would tell you what sort of a character the magician is, but that's a spoiler. That's one of the issues of having like an original story, but also wanting to like draw in interest beforehand is like you don't want to give too much away. But I will probably before it's over. I don't know. Should we turn this into like a tutorial or something? I kind of don't want to do that, but we could. So if you're working with like smaller sprites, or really sprites in general probably, unless it's like one of those hyper detailed like drawings that you turn into a pixelized version, you know, like some Doom shit. Actually, I think the fun thing about Doom is that their assets they originally designed in clay. Why do I hear noises? Shouldn't hear noises. Anyway. So yeah. What the fuck? Maybe the mail ran or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. The original Doom, they designed everything in claymation basically, and that's why all the demons look kind of lumpy and shit. It's pretty cool though. Anyway, I don't like that red. Yeah. But yeah, what you want to do with any sprite ever is you want to start kind of blocking in the general shape. Because you know you're gonna have an idle sprite where they're just kind of standing there and looking cool, right? That's gonna be where you probably want to start because that's gonna from that you're gonna base everything else. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're insane and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start with the super mega special attack sprite. Well, have fun because it's gonna be rather difficult to base everything else off of that. But anyway, so what you want to do is sort of get it going so that when you sharpen it, it's gonna look okay. I think that's too tall actually. Sprite is a really good program. If there's one thing that I would say don't do with Sprite, do not get it on Steam. Go to the website and just buy it from the people. I've done that before, but here's the thing. If you get the Steam version, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I just lost the files, but it seemed like after I got the actual version, every version of Sprite was permanently linked to Steam, which sucks. Now, I say I'm not sure because I have reason to believe that's my fault. At one point, I had the crazy idea to be like, what if I linked all of my art programs to Steam so that everybody would know I'm doing art? I don't know why I had this idea. It was rather dumb in the grand scheme of things. Pointless, I should say. But it ended up biting me in the ass because now every time I try to use this, it has to run Steam. It's really annoying. I don't like that. Anyway, you can actually find artwork I've done of this particular battle also on Newgrounds because I recently uploaded it. I was supposed to upload another picture to Newgrounds. I promised that I would, and I just kind of haven't done that. But art takes a while, and it's not a very rewarding profession at starting out anyway. So it's hard to bring myself to do that sometimes. I don't like wasting my time. That's why I'm iffy on doing art streams in general. Because, like I said, the retention rate for those very low, low and discouraging. Mm, mm. But anyway, he's supposed to be like a what's the word? Like an honor guard of sorts. The story about it is basically this guy is in a place that he is not supposed to be, and this guy is in the place to stop people from doing that. So they have a little bit of a back and forth about it. If there's one thing I do really hate, it's like talking about an OC or an original story or something like that, and they're like being nothing to actually behold. You know, it's kind of like doing an interview for a movie that you haven't done. Like, yeah, you know, when I was working on this, like, well, what the fuck is this? We don't know. We haven't seen it. Anyway, he's supposed to have a big shield. I don't know how I'm gonna fit that in. Because I wanted it to be kind of like that. They do look similar. One is big robe guy. The other is small robe guy. I don't know. Maybe we do it like that. Like maybe he's got his arms a little bit visible from the outside, but he's also supposed to be mostly enshrouded. Something like that, maybe. Anyway, as you can see, we started blocking in and then slowly, just from trying to fill in all the proper details, it does come together pretty quick. You don't have to really overthink when it comes to blocking in a sprite, because you're gonna know, like, generally speaking, it's always gonna be like a 45-degree angle or so, unless it's like a weird pose, which I don't know why you'd be doing that. It's why overcomplicate things. Um, but then it's just a matter of the hard part really comes from making this and then the future sprites uniform. And that's why you'll see on this file, like, even I even included like the idle and whatever that little taunt thing is supposed to be with all these, so you can scale it properly and make sure that everything is deforming and it's being scaled properly. I don't know. Ooh, I don't like that. Ooh, I don't like that either. How do you flip? I guess you just flip it the old-fashioned way. Oh no. Okay. But yeah, Sprite is a good program. I suggest, with any art program, I suggest you make your own hotkeys. Personally, I think if you're right-handed, have everything on the left side of the keyboard, like, just and then memorize whatever those are. Don't ever. I can almost never recommend the base hotkeys, just because they're all in weird spots and shit. I mean, usually it's not an artist that designs these programs, right? It's a programmer that's trying to make themselves feel comfortable while they're working on this, something like this. And that's why you get a lot of weird hotkeys that don't make any sense, because it's a programmer trying to make sure that every hotkey has like a distinguishable location on the keyboard and this and that. But if you're an artist, you kind of know what keys you're going to use the most. Personally, and I think that this would probably be the case with most artists, the select, like the select tool, magic wand, uh, I would suggest having separate keys even for like square select or box select, and the lasso tool and the magic wand. These are all three very different tools that can be used in different ways. Another thing, I have it set up on Krita, but it's you can't really do it on this. Um, my brush is the C key, and my eraser is the V key right next to it. I actually don't like that. On Krita, though, both my brush and the eraser can be like quick swapped with the C key. So it's like all I have to do is keep my finger on the C key and then do that, and then it's like, oh, I don't like that. Then I just erase it. But I'm used to that setup, and on A Sprite it's different. I would even say don't even worry about the eraser if you're working in sprites like in this situation, because if you I don't know if it's the default, but my color picker tool is on control, and you can color pick the transparency, and that will be what your brush paints as, which is literally what the eraser is. So technically, I can swap to both just from color picking. You see what I'm saying? Very handy if you're working in animation. You want those shortcuts that just feel extremely intuitive, because if not, then you're gonna be sitting there like, I gotta go all the way go all the way over here. Oh, you can't even see that. Whoa, hold on, I just realized you can't see like half of my screen. I mean, you can see the guy and the palette, but you can't see my tools. Why can't you see my tools? Against my better judgment, I'm gonna try to, like, does that work? That did work, but it kind of messed up everything. But you see what I'm saying though? Is like all your tools are over here. You can't see my mouse, but you can see me hovering over it. You don't want to go draw. Oh, I messed that up. Let me go to the eraser, and it's just a nightmare to do that after a while. And that's a principle of art programs that you want to take with you on any program. And you can really judge an art program by how easily to customize that setup is. Same with like the placement of the tools. Is like if the art program doesn't let you move those windows around uh, to like your liking, it's probably kind of a shit program. And that's why I like Krita so much is because there's very little in that you can't customize. So like in that regard, I definitely recommend Krita. But I don't like this pose that he's got going. It's like kind of like a base standing. He's almost T posing here, and it doesn't serve. Mm. Another thing with sprite work is you got to think about the. Let's see if I can do it. Where's the button to do that? Not that. That ain't it. Sprite. Mm, well, this is the long way to do it. But you got to think about it. Like, if this guy's right-handed or whatever hand this is, and let's say he has a big shield, and then let's say he's got a big weapon, which I'm apparently gonna have to resize for that. I don't know. Maybe we have him hold it like that for now. He's supposed to have like a big shield and a lance, so we'll we'll do it like that for now. But anyway, this makes him right-handed. But if you flip it, then he becomes left-handed. In most circumstances, I would say just don't worry about it. But depending on the situation, it might be weird if when your character turns around, suddenly everything is flipped. And yeah, but you know what's also weird is if it's not flipped, and then you're like looking at the back of the character when they turn a certain direction. It's a bit weird. But so far, the way it's looking, I might actually have to make this guy taller than 64 pixels, which I was desperately trying not to do. Let's see. The magician's pretty short, so maybe this guy just needs to be shortened a little more. Ooh, not what I meant to do. Like maybe his feet shouldn't be as visible. Nah, I don't know. Because the moment he holds the lance, it's going to extend further. I don't know. Let's see if I can show off like his original design. I'll look for that. Because that's something you gotta think about too. If we're looking at this like a tutorial, is you gotta look at your reference images. Gotta know what to do with them. Where is it? It's not in sprites. Where the hell is all my art? Nope, it's not there either. Maybe it's in old posts. No. Well, hold on. Let me look for it. Just because I've hyped it up this much. Where are you at, you son of a bitch? I gotta be careful about browsing because like I said in a previous stream, I have worked on not safe for work imagery before, and some of that's just kind of like sitting randomly. I mean, for me as an artist, I don't care. Nudity is nudity. Of course, sometimes it can get a little more graphic than that, but um, for me, it's just like I'm damn near desensitized to the whole thing. Okay, I see the art picture, but not his actual reference image. It might be locked on a Krita file. I don't know. Whatever. We'll forget about it. Anyway, but the point is, the lance is supposed to be like, I don't know. It'd probably be, God damn it. It's probably be that long, maybe. I don't know. And the shield's supposed to be huge. I mean, he's supposed to be a tank, you know, like tanks be tanking. But I also don't like the idea of him taking up more than 62 or 64 pixels, because that kind of throws off the size resolution that I've been going for here. I don't know. Oh, that's another thing. If you're working with round objects in a sprite, good luck. That's about all the advice I can give. You gotta just kind of know how to draw things in 3D to make that look okay, and then you gotta fight the pixels till it looks nice. There was a guy who did work for JonTron, and he actually, like, this is a long time ago, back when JonTron was really kind of gaining in popularity, like at the peak of his fame, I would say. Uh, and I don't remember the guy's name, but he like did the intro for JonTron, and that kind of boosted his viewership up a lot. But the point of it is, he released a tutorial, like it was a multi-stage tutorial, like with covering different topics of sprite work and stuff. And if you could find that, I highly recommend that. I don't even remember what it's called, but the guy's name is like Michael Avi or something like that, Avri or something, I think. Just look up, do some research, see if you can find the guy that did the JonTron the intro, and maybe somewhere on his profiles and portfolios you might find that tutorial guide. Originally it was like a Patreon, or not Patreon, but like a, shit, what do they used to call those? The crowd-funded thing? I forget what it's called. I don't think it was called crowdfunding. It was called Kickstarter. That's what it was. It was a Kickstarter. And if you paid like any amount of money, you got all of them for free or something like that. So I got a few of them. I think I missed some of them when they released, but there's a few tutorials somewhere on my computer. But I'm not showing those to you because I had to pay for them hoes. The least you can do is look for them. Yeah, I just don't like the way that looks. It looks too basic. I don't know. Like, maybe he should be kind of facing a little more towards the camera for that silhouette to look right. It's a bit of a solemn character, so if he's looking down more, that serves. Kind of works. Real issue is I think he's too wide. Like, maybe he should be about like that. That actually kind of gives enough room for the only problem here is that when he attacks, it's almost certainly going to extend beyond that. So, what can you do? You know? If I did have one more generic art advice thing, don't fight the picture. sometimes you got to just to like try to get that one thing that you were really envisioning for it. But God, if there's one thing I can say is like if you're fighting the picture, that is a bad sign. It means that something is not working and it's supposed to, but it's not. And you can spend all day treading water trying to get that picture to do what you're wanting it to do. But at a certain point, you gotta just accept the possibility that either you do not have the skill to do the thing you're wanting to do, or you're looking at it the wrong way. Either way, I mean, the picture's a picture. If you're getting, you know, fucking, if you're getting resistance from a still image that you created, guess whose fault that is? You know what I mean? It's the image can only be what you have made it. So if you're struggling, it's because you're struggling. It is not because sprites are bad or something or like the medium is wrong. It's like no, there is something critical that you are missing to the scenario. Like right now, for instance, it could be that because I'm trying to keep this compacted into a 64 pixel situation, that I'm losing a lot of life that this character could have. You know, I'm also thinking now that these should be swapped because that's another thing. Since we already know it's gonna be mirrored, it kind of doesn't matter what side the object is on. It's about what do you want to be visible primarily throughout the use of the asset. The asset. So let's see. We can try that. And then that way we can kind of keep the shield elsewhere. Another thing about this character is that he does put the shield on his back somehow, where we're not going to think about the specifics of it. But in theory, that could be an answer to the silhouette thing, and then maybe he like pulls it out as like a special ability type situation. I do notice I am having to fight with this image. And like I said, not a good sign. Something critical is being missed here. But you don't always know what that is. So really all you can do is fight it. You know? Fight it or give up. But we're on stream, so we're not going to give up just yet. And you know, several times I can recall where you instead of fighting the picture because you don't know what's up, it could just be your character design needs a rework. Like maybe something just doesn't translate well to pixels. Like this like little armor thing that I got going on here that's supposed to be outside the robe. I've had to change this multiple times just because I felt like it didn't sit right. I don't like it sometimes, and so I gotta change it. It's just one of those things, man. Art is very fluid. You gotta roll with the punches a lot. That looks slightly, I don't know, slightly slimmer, which is kind of what I needed. Um, So yeah, because like I said, I wanted the lance to be very very long, at least enough to for it to be to evoke that feeling of oh yeah, this dude's got range, you know. But that's gonna end up biting me in the ass because range means larger than normal, which means The pixels have to be adjusted for that. It's just one of the things we got to figure out. Another thing you have to consider with sprite work is detail, level of detail. Because part of me wants to add a lot of like wrinkles and stuff to this, but that might be a pain in the ass, and pains in the ass don't serve well when it comes to game development, or especially not animation. You generally want the animation to, well, like I said, you don't want to fight it the whole time, because fighting it the whole time, it's going to demotivate you. It's gonna show in the work. Like, believe you me, if you have trouble with something, it's gonna be visible in the final product, unless you just scrapped it entirely. But even then, people are gonna notice that a big chunk of your vision is missing. They won't know why they feel like that, but any cut content is noticeable at a certain point. Like, no joke. Something like that is what I was kind of shooting for. This is another one of those things. Points, like sharp points, like swords and things like this. They can be a pain in the ass with sprites. You gotta be careful. There's ways to avoid it, but none of them are easy. Like, you can do like this where you basically work the pixels over and over until they kind of have the right curvature. You can use a different style of sprite. Like, that's one of those things that was covered in that tutorial thing I was talking about just a minute ago. There's like different kinds of sprites. Like, and it's all about the outlines, really. You could have black outlines, right? Or a lot of sprites have like actual colored outlines. So like in this example, it might be that instead of a black outline, let's see if I can do this. Everything has its own outline, but it's not black. And then maybe like in certain points, it would actually be right for there to be a black spot there. So like you got maybe one part that has a pixel on it. You see what I'm saying? But then there's the other type that's like the hard black outlines. And then there's one where it's like none at all. Like, it's just basically a painted picture that's been pixelized. I'm not sure if there was any other styles, but you get the idea. It doesn't look half bad, but I'm not gonna lie. Something about it's not right. Aside from the average pixel here and there, something ain't meshing right with my vision. And methinks it may be best to leave it alone for now. I don't know. Oh, the point that I was getting at with the outline thing is that let's say you don't care about having black outlines. You can use that to your advantage to kind of make something look pointier than it is. The problem is at a certain point, you're not really making sprites so much as a painted picture with pixels. Which, I mean, yeah, that's technically a sprite, but when you got to put 3 hours into shading something properly because it's not, it's a complex object with complex lighting, it's going to bog down your development a lot. Not to say that you shouldn't do that. It's just that it's a double-edged sword, you know. But it's like you could say the hell with all these outlines because they're not sharpening the image properly, and then like get rid of it, right? And see, like getting rid of that outline kind of makes that look a little sharper, especially from further away. Like do maybe that, and you can keep doing that, and it'll kind of look like it's a little sharper than it was, than with the black outline. You see what I'm saying? But here's the issue. Look at this guy. He's all black outlines. So if you ever decide to do that, you have to carefully consider the implications. Because if I start changing the style of the sprite on one end, unless I wanted all the sprites to just be hodgepodge stylistically, you're gonna have to change every single one to look the best it could with that sort of spriting situation. You see what I'm saying? Like you'd have to go back through here and recolor all those outlines so that they don't have the black outline because you changed the style of the overall project. It's just one of them things, man. Now, there are other ways to get around that. I like the way Rivals of Aether does theirs. Let's see if I can bring one of those up because I do have those files somewhere in my sprites folder. I'm pretty sure they do this. Yeah. Oh, wait, no. They kind of do it the other way. Uh, so, what I thought that Rivals of Aether did, they kind of do it sometimes. See that how there's not a black outline here where the leg is, like where it divides. Instead, they just shaded it. But primarily, I don't know if I'm blocking the screen. Hold on. Primarily, you got these dark outlines, well, on the outline, you know? And then they kind of, like I was saying, they use the black only in like those deep crevices where there wouldn't be any light at all anyway. Like right here, here, and here. But then they also have black outlines internally on the sprite to distinguish certain objects like the ears, the weird branch thing going on there. Annoyingly, this is actually the wrong resolution, but for some reason it's like double the size, I think. Like, let's actually experiment with that. Sprite size. Let's go 64, 64. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Actually, what the hell? This kind of shows you. Oh shit, my bad. I didn't mean to be angry there. I pressed a key. Anyway, my ear. But you can kind of see this is what a professional spriter actually does. Look how much detail they are able to pull out of what's actually less than 64 pixels. Mine not so much, but we're getting there, you know. Actually, that's about right in terms of the detail. But they still get a lot of detail out of it without having to use outlines everywhere. But usually I would recommend I would recommend starting with black outlines and then coloring in those extra details as you go, because it's gonna get busy real quick if you start using colors like aside from like the main palette to add details. Well, I just closed the file, but you want to have like maybe two, maybe three max shading colors or highlight colors. Sort of like with this lance here is like that's about how many colors you want, because if you start doing like if you start going oh shit, like let's say do that and then you add like a mid-tone between what the fuck, what's happening here? Oh, I'm on fill. if you had like a mid-tone between those two, but then you're like, well, what about the mid-tone here, you know? And then now you have six tones. Sure, it might make your sprite look better at the end of the day, but you're going to have to add those six tones everywhere. I'm talking everywhere. Like, just imagine, like, you know how difficult cloth can be. Like, let's just add a shading there. Then we add a mid-tone. That might be our palette for the whole rest of the thing. But now you have to do that everywhere to make it uniform. Because if your sprite doesn't have a uniform palette, it's going to look like shit. Like, straight up, no other way around it. If it's not paletted correctly, it will be noticeable. It really is like palettes, outlines, and consistent style. Just all these things are going to make or break your sprite. I do not claim to be a professional spriter because that shit's hard. But I know enough to know enough, you know. Just take my advice. You don't want six different tones for your sprite unless it's going to be a still image, maybe. That would be the only time that I would say to do that is like, you know how some games will have like a profile image, maybe for like the dialogue box or whatever. Then you might think to get a little more detailed. But even then, I would say less is more. Always with sprites, less is more. Anyway, so that's pretty much the end of that, I think. We might call this stream. And I might jump into Dark Souls. I think, here's the thing. If I do decide to get Elden Ring, we'll do that tomorrow. Maybe. Who knows? I might surprise you and we do it today. My only issue is I like to prep a thumbnail for the games that I play. And I don't have one for that yet because I don't know if I'm going to do it. Money is money, you know? Trying to not spend it all. Don't spend it all in one place, they say. Alright. That's pretty much it for me. We might play a game later. Oh, and if you want to see other stuff that I've been up to, if you didn't check out the Ratchet and Clank stream, that's on YouTube. It might be on Twitch. I don't really know. Twitch doesn't let me log in half the time. But, yeah, just check that out. If you don't want to watch the full stream, I cut a few good places out in the stream, and they're going to be posted. They're scheduled to be posted this week. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. Sorry if I ignored any messages, but I've been kind of focused on the art. I would have had my dual screen set up today if the PlayStation had worked, but it gave me grief, so we're not going to continue with Ratchet and Clank.